Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. It's the Superbike Show and we are back. Yes, returning on a Tuesday live here on Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester and joining us this evening is all live all the way from Scotland. It's Lewis Ray. Hello, good evening, Lewis.
Evening, Lester. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, not bad. We're hopefully welcoming a few guests on this evening. Guests like former presenter of this very show, Liam Hodgins. Yes, another Scot for those long-time listeners of the Superbike Show. Liam co-hosted the show with myself in 2019, and he's from originally Dunoon. But spent most of his time in Glasgow and came to Motorsport Radio, did some stuff, and now he's working for MotoGP. So, given that it's the first round coming up, we thought we'd ask him a few questions about it, get some insider perspective on all the juicy gossip that's been what to expect. He probably doesn't know anything. He probably just speculates just like we do, to be honest. But if you have any questions for Liam Hodgins, then you can get them to us. It is at Motorsport Radio on the social medias, or you can or just leave a comment in the comments box wherever you're tuned in to this right now. Also, later on in the show, we've got Danny Webb live on Motorsport Radio as well. He's back from his honeymoon and he's here. Danny Webb, great to have him on the show. What's
on Facebook?
I don't even know. Shut up. Anyway, yeah, Danny Webb here on Motorsport Radio coming up later. So if you've got any questions for him, and we are trying to get Dominique Aegerter as well on the show. And hopefully Domi is, I don't know what he's up to, probably something Swiss, maybe, I don't know, whatever Swiss athletes do at this time on a Tuesday night. I don't know, just preparing for the weekend, I'm going to suggest. But we are trying to establish contact with him. If we can get him on the show, we'll drag him on right here. So get your questions to either Domi or to Danny Webb and Liam Hodgins as well. Don't leave him out. Ask him maybe, how do I get into broadcasting? Hey, Lewis, hey? Or how do I become a top commentator like you and stuff.
Oh, aye.
Those old chestnuts. But anything like that, get in touch with us. Use the comments box in the comments box below. Right, couple of bits of news since last week, Lewis, since we were on the show. What's been happening?
Yeah, so the final test for both Moto2 and Moto3 has concluded, with Pedro Acosta topping the timesheets and looking strong heading into the season, with many already tipping them as their championship favourite. Runner-up last year in Moto2, Aegerter did not attend the final test due to a dislocated wrist and some potential fractures, which now means he's at risk of not racing at the opening round this weekend. Rory Skinner continued to improve in the Moto2 class and ended the final pre-season test just 2 seconds away from the front runners, and throughout every single session he dropped his lap time and he got faster and faster. In Moto3, Honda looked very strong at Portimao. It's something which we've not seen for the past year or two. It seems that KTM's always had the edge, but it seems that Honda this year have brought something to the table. Within the first day, they topped the first 4 spots. Ricardo Rossi on one of those Hondas was the fastest rider on the final day at Portimao, which to many was a big surprise, and it just shows how competitive Moto3 looks to be this year. Scott Ogden was consistently at the front with his eyes already set on battling for those top positions within the opening round. And finally, of course, MotoGP is back this weekend. We're going to have a full preview on the lead up to this weekend with the introduction of sprint races for the first time in MotoGP's history.
Do we have to be nice? I suppose since Liam's on the show and he's literally representing MotoGP, he works for MotoGP, suppose we've got to say nice things about it.
It's controversial.
Well, I suppose if we get him off the show before the end, we can have our real say, what we really think, because we all share the same. Okay. Let's wait. I think let's wait to see what happens. Not everyone agrees with me and says that has the same opinions and such. So Yeah. Yeah, anyway, so, that was a little bit of what's been happening in the... Apologies if I appear distracted. I am just trying to establish contact with Mr. Domi. So if you tuned in, listening live, get on the show, Dom. Anyway, so other bits of news as well in BSB. Anyway, in the past few days, I think this was last week, in the Hell Performance Junior Supersport Championship, Greg Marshall, former FAB racer, will be making his debut in the championship. He's 15 years old. He's progressing up to the championship. Apparently, he began his racing at 9 years old. Didn't say it was that he'd had most of his success at FAB. He'd also done stuff like the Team Green Junior Cup as well, but also at FAB as well, and where all the stars of tomorrow go to race today. And apparently Greg said upon this news the other day, he's very excited to begin his first season with BSB in the Junior Supersport class. He's feeling comfortable with the new bike and he can't wait to see what the season brings for him. Best of luck to you, Greg. Hopefully that will be all good for him. Watch how he gets on. Maybe even let's have a chat with him on the show, who knows. But you forget sometimes how young some of these riders are. You normally sort of associate the young riders with like the British Talent Cup, the kids and stuff. But the Junior Supersport, 15-year-olds and stuff. Anyway, also happening over the past few days, this was, I think, last Thursday, Lewis Rollo announced that he'll return to In Competition Aprilia on board his Aprilia. Believe it or not, in the National Superstock Championship. He was with them in 19 and 2020 as well. And he says, I'm coming home. He said, I won't do the accent, but he says he's coming home. I can't explain how happy he is to be back in the In Competition team for 2023, competing in the National Superstock Championship. And knowing Ian and Myra since he was 12, he says, winning the Aprilia Super Team Championship, supporting him through them. And he also finished third in the 2020 National Superstock Championship as well. So, Lewis Rollo, top lad. We've had him on the show before. Maybe try and get him back on as well at some point. That's good for Lewis Rollo. Also, Cameron Fraser returning to the Quattro Group British GP2 Championship with Go Racing Developments. That was news breaking also a few days ago. And one final bit to let you know about. Cameron Hall is returning to his Pirelli National Junior Superstock Championship with Triple M powered by Nationwide Electrical for 2023. Some decent bits of news there, Lewis.
Yeah, a lot of news came out the past couple of days, mainly in Britain. It's great to see, for example, Lewis Rollo, if maybe he's Scottish, that he's got a ride for this season in the Aprilia. And a small bit of bias, but I believe he's going to be, I don't think they've announced of a rider for that team, so I believe he might be the sole rider for the In Competition team, but we're going to have to wait and find out. And if he is, he'll be the only Aprilia on the grid, I believe. So, it seems that Honda's dominating the Superstock 1000 class, but it's great to see, and it's great to see the Junior Supersport class getting more riders, and it seems to be a class which is just like the British Talent Cup, but production based and maybe slightly cheaper for some people.
Do we really care as long as the racing's on? Good as well.
Yeah. As long as the racing's good, we're happy, and I think we're gonna have a good season this year for the Junior Supersport. It's a class which in the past couple of years has just exploded, it seems, with grid sizes. 300 race in general has just exploded in grid sizes in Scotland, England, even in world. It just seems to be a championship which keeps attracting more and more people, and it's almost a route where you see riders going into the super sport class. Well, the British Talent Cup seems to be a route for people which want to go into the junior GP paddock and continue to race the Grand Prix machines.
All right. We'll keep up to date with all the latest news as well, and check out our website, motorsport.radio, for all the very, very latest as well. Right. Let's get on with our first guest here on the Superbike Show. We have managed to establish contact with him, and he wasn't too busy, and we found out what he was doing as well, what sort of top high-level athlete performance stuff he does on a Tuesday. It is, please welcome onto the Superbike Show and Motorsport Radio, Dominique Aegerter. Hello, good evening.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
I'm very good. And you?
Yeah, we're all right. Yeah, just chilling out. Yeah. So thank you for coming on. First of all, we were wondering what sort of stuff you typically would do on a Tuesday night.
Just relaxing. In Switzerland, it's already 9 o'clock. So yeah. Before I went to the gym, and now easy time.
Fair enough. And, I appreciate it. Who's the character with you've got like a fluffy toy that you move there? Go on, who's that? Has it got a name?
No, I win it one time by an ice racing event.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay, so, Lewis, I know you've got quite a lot of questions as well, and I'll be across comments that flood in, no doubt, for you, Dominic. Take it away, Lewis.
Yeah, so Domi, the first 2 rounds now of World Superbikes is over. You've moved to the class this year with GYRT Yamaha. First of all, how have you felt like the first 2 rounds have went for yourself?
Yeah, for me, it's a new category. So I moved up from Super Sport and MotoE to World Superbike. And it's not that easy because the bike have a lot of power. And also with all the electronics, you need to set up the bike in a good way. But I could take 2 top 10. And already my first race, I had a front row start with a 3rd place. So was not that bad, but we still need to work on the puzzle to get really everything on a good way.
And you mentioned the front row start in Australia. Was that a result which was unexpected in your first weekend, or was it something which secretly in your back pocket you knew was potentially possible?
For sure. In the first qualifying, with this qualifying tire, to make a front row start with 0.2 from the pole position lap time. I didn't expect. I tried to be in the first 3 rows. This is very important and would be my goal. But to stand really in the front row was surprising.
And this year, of course, you have Remy Gardner as a teammate. So how's it been working with him so far this year?
Yeah, we understand each other quite well. I know him since a long time already in Moto2, and it's always good to have a strong teammate beside me. And he was world champion in Moto2. I was 2-time champion in Supersport. So I think we can push each other further, and we try to make a great team result.
And in Austria, of course, Remy and yourself had a slight collision on track. Is everything all good still there with your teammate, or? Yeah. Yes,
of course, it's racing. Shit happens, but for sure it's bad if your teammate crash you out when you're both fighting for podium or top 5. So this was a shame, but we are still teammates and friends, and we try to work better for the next races.
And you spoke about Moto2, your time in Moto2, which was pretty successful. Moving to the World Superbike now, how does the bike compare to the Moto2 bike which you raced previously a couple of years ago?
You mean the comparison between Supersport and Superbike?
Moto2 in 2018, 2017. How's the bike compared to the World Superbike?
Of course. It was I ride in 2019 the last time with the Triumph engine with a 765 3-cylinder. So the bike for sure have a lot less power than a Superbike, and also all the electronic things what you can adapt on a Superbike you don't have on the Moto2 bike. So I think these 2 things is the biggest difference. And then the next one is for sure also the tires that we ride Pirelli in Superbike, and in Moto2 we was riding Dunlop.
And this season in World Superbikes, with it being your rookie season, is there any goals or expectations heading into the year, or is it to go and have fun?
Yeah, it's always important to have fun, but you have more fun if you can reach your goals and try to fight in front. But yeah, my goals was for the first few races to make a good top 10 place. And then, try to be the best rookie, the best independent rider. And then I want to be also sometimes the best Yamaha rider. So this will be a big goal.
And if we go back to just last season, actually, you had a test, I believe, at Misano with Suzuki for the MotoGP bike. How was that experience and how did that come about?
Yeah, it was a very, very nice experience. Also surprising after winning the MotoE title with the electric bike. They called me on Sunday night if I want to try the MotoGP factory bike from Suzuki on Tuesday. And I was like, oh, of course, yeah, I want to try. And yeah, I think when I had some interviews in the past years, I was always saying like MotoGP is a dream for me and also a goal to ride a bike like that. And everybody was always a little bit smiling about me. And yeah, last year I could ride a factory bike and I think I did not so bad for these few laps I could do.
Yeah, you were very quick on it. And you spoke about MotoE and you win the championship last season. What is a MotoE bike like to ride from a rider's eyes and perspective?
Yeah, MotoE is quite different to another bike, let's say, because the bike have no sound, no gear shifts, no clutch. So yeah, you ride it a little bit differently than a normal fuel bike, especially you have a lot of torque in the slower corners, so you need to give attention when you open the throttle. There is no traction control or something like that. And in the faster corners, you can open the throttle already quite early before the apex. So this is, yeah, you need to get used to it, and you don't have a lot of time to adapt to the bike because after 6-7 laps, the battery is already finished.
Yeah, and you've raced in MotoE for 3 years, I believe, and in 2021 you're battling for the championship at the final round. Just walk us through that final race against Jordi Torres, which was quite controversial.
Yeah, of course, if you are fighting for the championship and you still have a chance to win the championship, and yeah, everybody knows that you tried to win, and yeah, me and Jordi Torres was going in the last lap, so I tried to overtake him in the third last corner, maybe a little bit on the limit. We touched each other. He crashed out. I win the race, and I was for like 15 minutes the champion. But then they give me a penalty that was the penalty was so big that I couldn't get the championship, and yeah. I say, let's say this was a little bit strange penalty, but yeah, we get it last year.
And riding the MotoE bikes, do you believe that maybe electric motorcycles are the future of racing, or do you still believe it's going to be normal fuel-powered motorcycles?
Let's say I still have some fuel in the blood, and I think as long as I racing, I think the electric bikes, they will not come as good as a MotoGP bike. I was also slightly disappointed that the development of the MotoE bike was not that fast, because we was riding for 4 years the same bike. Of course, there was also the COVID time that was for everyone difficult to make some development. And this year, finally, Ducati make a new electric bike. But I think still there is not enough, let's say, riding and developing the bike that it can be as fast as a Moto2 bike or a MotoGP bike. So I think there is still need a lot of time to get as fast and as many laps that the MotoGP bike can do to really make it a competitive bike.
And for the past couple of years, you've been racing both MotoE and the World Supersport class. How difficult was it racing the two classes in 1 year?
Yeah, it was very difficult because you needed, first of all, you needed to make a contract with two different teams. That it's not so easy because you have different sponsors on both bikes. So I was lucky that both of the teams accepted this thing, and then the next step was coming all the travel that you need to do, because sometimes I had like four races in a row, so this was very demanding also for the body. Then you needed to adapt very quickly from the MotoE to the Supersport. And last year I was lucky that there was no races on the same weekend, but in 2021 there was one race in the same weekend, so I needed to lose 2 races in Supersport, so this is very difficult. But I could manage, and this was for sure 2 long years, and it was demanding, but to make in both categories champion, I think this was a big achievement from me and all the 2 teams.
Yeah, it certainly is a big achievement. And if we look at the World Supersport class by itself, for the past 2 seasons, you've dominated it with over 400 points in 2021 and 2022. Was that almost, I don't want to say easy, but was that easy for you? Because it looked from home watching on TV that you were just doing it effortlessly.
No, easy not. Of course not, because there is 30 riders who wants to win. For sure, there is, let's say, 10 riders who could win or could fight for the podium, and I needed to push every time to get this victory. For sure was something very, very special to win 17 races in one season. I think this maybe never happen again, I don't know. But first of all, also the team need to make a big job, also all the material. Then you need to have also some race luck. And I think all my career, I was working very hard for doing it. So I was mentally and physically very, very fit. So I didn't make any mistakes by myself. So I could do a perfect season, let's say.
And you've raced in the Supersport next generation regulations with Ducati, MV Agusta, Triumph joining the class now. Was it different to race against bikes with different engine sizes, racing against 900cc Ducatis? Was there anything different which you had to think about?
Yeah, on the start of the season, I was very, very afraid to race compared to them, because nobody know how much the championship will close the throttle for them, because some of the Ducati was 955 or something like this, and the MV Agusta 800 cubic centimeter bike. So we was lucky that they find out a very good regulation, and in some tracks they was very fast depending on the exit of the corners. But most of the time, of course, when you was behind them, they had a little bit a different riding style, a little bit more like a Superbike or a weak corner. So this is why, let's say, when you was behind them, you need to figure out where you could overtake them the best.
And after you won the championship for the first time in 2021 in World Supersport, did you expect maybe a move to World Superbikes then, or did you expect to maybe spend another year in Supersport like you did?
Already then, my goal was to step up to World Superbike, but was very difficult to find a team, and me as old Swiss rider. Nobody wants me, I think. So I did again a super sport season. And I think after this season, they couldn't say no. So, of course, I was very happy to sign with the GYTR GRT Racing Yamaha team.
And finally, one question for me is that you just spoke there about you being a Swiss rider. How difficult is it for a Swiss rider to make it to MotoGP, to Moto2, and to World Superbikes?
Yeah, it's not that easy. We are only a few riders. Not many left. Let's say me and Krummenacher, maybe Brenner is the last oldies, and younger ones, there is not coming so many. And we have not so long time nice weather. We also don't have any racetrack here in Switzerland. So it makes everything more difficult to really join the World Championship. And also, of course, we are a small country, so sometimes for some teams it's not really interesting to get a Swiss rider.
Okay, cool. That's all the questions then, Lewis, I guess. Thank you, Domi, for answering those. I do have one additional question just before you go. This one comes in from MotoGP's and Dorna's Liam Hodgins, who wanted to know, how come, Domi, you seem to wear just one glove when you're on the podium?
Yeah, it's a contract with my gloves company 5. So when I needed to go to podium, or when I can go to podium, I need to wear one glove. So yeah, that's the reason.
There you go. Okay, so contractual things, little things. There you go. And now you know, Liam. So just perfect. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the Superbike Show here on Motorsport Radio. Best of luck with the rest of your season. We'd love to keep in touch with you and see how well you do, see what your season's like at the end, maybe. So get you on at, I don't know, September, October, something like that. And maybe ask you about what things you've got ahead. Maybe if that's not too advanced, but anyway, have you got any other stuff like planned? Any sort of like ice racing type sort of other kind of things, or is it? I know you do quite a lot of stuff just for fun, don't you? But
yeah, of course, I train always a lot. I do many different stuff of training. And of course, I try to prepare myself the best way for the next races. And follow me, guys, on the World Superbike or on my social media, so you can see what I do.
Yeah, we do, and it's always interesting seeing your Insta. It's things on my timeline, but that's good. Anyway, thank you. We'll let you get on and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening, and very best of luck with the rest of the season, Domi. So thank you for coming on the Superbike Show. Yeah,
thank you for listening, and maybe speak to you soon again.
Exactly. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Motorsport Radio. Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Oh, what a great guy. It's, that's Dominique Aegerter here on Motorsport Radio. Fantastic to have him on. And, did you get all your questions in, Lewis, that you wanted to ask him? Sounds like you did.
Yes. One or two questions I got in, yeah.
Good stuff. And, he's, don't know if he was having a cold or something going on, but that's, hey-ho. It's nice to always have someone new on the show, isn't it? It's always good to listen to that. A big hello if you're tuned in for the first time to the Superbike Show. This is basically what we do. We just talk, have a chat really, and drag on any old stars who seem to be just lying around. So if you're basically racing a bike, or if you're doing something, or if you've got a couple of, say half an hour on a Tuesday evening, then we'll get you on the show And so there you go. And one man that's been on the show before, and that's we've been waiting very patiently to come back on the show, is our next guest, Lewis.
Yeah, so coming onto the show now is a man who voted for quite a while, as you said. Is a world endurance rider, ex-Ironman TT rider, ex-Grand Prix rider, ex-World Supersport rider. He's practically done everything that you can in racing. It's Danny Webb.
Danny, how are you doing? Welcome back to Motorsport Radio. Oh, you're on mute, I think, Danny. Are you able to unmute yourself? There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, there we go. You can hear you now.
Sorry, I'm not very good at this technical stuff.
Oh, it's all right. That's fine. But welcome back to Motorsport Radio and the Superbike Show. You've had a busy winter.
Yeah, it has. It's been very busy, to be honest with you. It's more than what I anticipated, anyway. But no, it's been busy now. You know, the lead up to the championship, my championship starting, but not just that, the kids' championship. So yeah, it's been really, really busy to sort of get everything organised, and even now, you know, every single day we're still trying to get stuff organised. So, but yeah, we're pretty much there now.
Yeah, and that's you mentioned the other championships that you're not doing. Followers of Danny Webb may have seen that there's the Danny Webb GP training camp that you're doing. You've been out in Spain quite a lot, if not live there entirely, it seems, from the social media posts. But yeah, just tell us, for those who don't know, the GP training camp, that seems to have taken off in a big way for you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, last year we started at the beginning of the year, you know, flat tracking and doing fitness stuff in the winter, because a friend of mine, Pete Bose, obviously has his own flat track school, and so we sort of joined up and we could do it there at his place, and I never really anticipated to do it on circuits, but a lot of the FAB guys asked if I was going to do it on go-kart circuits. So that sort of got me thinking last year, and then we put it into place last year and sort of found our feet a little bit with it, and yeah, this year just sort of going a bit bigger. You know, I got to know some of the kids and some of the families, and took a liking to them, and it sort of drew me in back to the mini bike paddock, and it's you know, there's some fantastic talent out there, and we've had a lot come through the camps, and the camps have taken off. It went a lot quicker than what I thought it was going to, and you know, we've had to sort of step up sooner than what I thought, but you know, I think we need it. That's what we need in our country. You know, I've been there, I've done it, I've made some very good choices, but I've also made some bad choices, and if I can get the kids to sort of learn from my mistakes, you know, everyone's going to make mistakes, everyone's human, but you know, if the less mistakes they can make in their career, you know, the more chance we've got of having a future world champion.
And Danny, you spoke about there just how well the GP camp has done, and that unexpected, like, you've got more people than what you thought was originally going to be interested in it. And I just want to know, what kind of improvements have you had to make, and what have you had to step up with the added amount of riders which have signed up to the camp?
Yeah, I mean, our days are always real low number anyway, because I want them to get the quality training, you know, from myself and from guest trainers we have come with us. And so we always have a small number. We only have in Spain, we had 14 riders, but they was all on metric kits or ovales. So that was just the geared side of things, because I didn't want to do mini motos and geared bikes at the first time we went to Spain, because I didn't want to bite off more than what I could chew, and it went really well. You know, I couldn't have wished for it to go better. I had some fantastic trainers with me. You know, I had Max Cook, I had Charlie Nesbitt, we had Chas Mortimer down there with us as well, and it really did. It went well, and I sort of we done the exercises I wanted to do in the UK, but I wasn't quite confident enough to do it. So we got them done in Spain, and then obviously they're going to translate to our UK days now.
And you spoke about there the coaches which were involved with your GP camp, the likes of Charlie Nesbitt, Max Cook, and even Johnny Garnis, who we were speaking to a couple of weeks ago. How has it been working with them, and what exactly do they bring to the table for in terms of teaching the younger riders?
I mean, we've had quite a few special guests. JT, James Toseland, come to one as well, and they are good friends of mine, in the paddock. Max, I worked with Max a long time ago, when he won the, it wasn't the Talent Cup, but it was the Standard Honda Championship in the British Championship, and the year before when he got on a Moto3 bike. I've known Charlie since all his career pretty much, and they're really, really good lads. They're really nice lads. They're down to earth. They've kept their feet on the ground throughout their entire career. The same, like me and JT met in 2008, so we've known each other a long time. We've been good friends for a long time. We work with each other in World Supersport, and Chaz Mortimer as well. Obviously Chaz he's won Grand Prix, he's finished runner-up in the 125 World Championship, and he should have really won it. And he's an all-time legend, won Yamaha's first ever 500 Grand Prix for him. And so we've got some real legends, and they want the same as what I want. Obviously, Charlie and Max's career now is sort of taking off, and I try and support them as much as I can as well, with just my experiences, on where I can help if they're having a bit of a bad day or whatever, So I'm always there for them for advice, and we all seem to bounce off each other well. We all get along well. So Spain was a good fun trip because we was all sharing an apartment. So it's. But I really appreciate their help as well, because I know they don't have to do it. I know they've got busy schedules, and they take the time out to come and help the kids, and all the kids really appreciate it.
And talk us through, if you're a rider coming to one of your camps, what exactly they're going to experience. Talk us through a normal Danny GP camp.
Well, I suppose they'd arrive and they'd see me, my wife, and Charlie or Max or whoever's with us struggling to put the awning up, and then we get them all signed on and do a track walk and just have a look at some different areas. It all depends. Like we had one yesterday, and the weather wasn't very good in the morning, and so we could understand where the sort of slippery parts were on the track and stuff like that. And then we'd sort of, it all depends. The every day is different as well. So we either do a couple of practice sessions, and me and the other trainers are out riding with them as well. And then we do a little bit of cone work, and then we can set some cones out on the circuit as well, just to try and get them using more of the circuit. So, they have to, otherwise they're going to hit the cone sort of thing and force them into them positions. We do body work training with them. We do a lot of different braking techniques with them, because, it's really important to get these kids to learn especially how to use the rear brake in the correct way, because when they get to when they get to Spanish Championship level or World Championship level, or they get to that next level where they need to step up their riding skills again, they need to start using the rear brake. So, and this is the biggest thing where the Italians and the Spanish have got a leg up on us. They're doing these sort of things from when they're 6 years old. So we need our kids doing it. And not just using the rear brake to slow themselves down, use it in the correct way to help them go around the corner. It does get very technical, and sometimes understandably the kids struggle with it at first, but when it starts to become more natural for them, they're doing it and they're not even thinking about it, and now at first they don't see the benefit because they can't. It's hard for them to compute with it. But as soon as they get the understanding of what it actually does and it makes them go faster, they start doing it automatically. And that's what we need to do. At this stage in their careers, everyone wants to win. I understand that, but it's not about, for me, this stage, it's not about winning. It's about learning these skills, what they're going to have to learn later in their career. And if they learn it now, sure, every day's a school day for everyone, isn't it? But, they won't have to learn as much going through their career.
And what have you learnt yourself from working with these younger riders? Have they maybe taught you something yourself, or is it maybe the way you explain motorcycle terminology to them with them being such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, you have to simplify it as much as you can. But, they teach me a lot as well, and they always make me smile. It's very difficult because you see them ride a motorcycle and then they come off. At the camps, we have a whiteboard where we write stuff on and we do diagrams and things like that to explain what's going on. It's a bit easier that way. And then they're all messing around on the whiteboard, drawing pictures and stuff like that. And that's when you understand how young they are. But, we definitely have a couple of standout talents what come to the camps, but we have the other ones as well who are just chipping away at it and learning each time they come, and they just start to blossom in their confidence, and it's really nice to see.
Just listening to the way you explain things, and yeah, it is sometimes, Danny, easy to forget the ages when I suppose when you're trying to instill a professional mindset for the future, and then you just remind yourselves that actually, they're actually only 10 years old, or whatever age they are. So yeah, that's probably why they're just messing about, being kids. But at that age, does it matter so much? And if so, how much does it matter about what particular bike they're normally racing on? Or is it all about skill? So right now in the UK, there's B&B and there's FAB-Racing, Ovale and MetroKit. In your experience, I know you don't discriminate. You're there to teach and educate and show people how to race bikes, basically. But does it matter? I suppose if there's parents listening. Do people get more of an advantage being on one particular type of bike than the other?
I mean, 4-strokes are a little bit easier to ride for sure. The 2-strokes are harder to ride, 100%. But I'm a 2-stroke fan, so I'm a little bit biased. They genuinely, I feel like they do teach you the correct way. They force you to ride the bike in the correct way. You can get away with a lot less. On a 4-stroke, you can be a little bit lazy, but if you're fast on a motorbike, you're going to be fast on a motorbike. So we look at let's take one of our team members for this year, young Wilson Dilks. He grew up on an Ovale, very, very talented kid, and now he's riding a MetroKit, and he rides the MetroKit very, very well, but the 2-strokes are a little bit more difficult to ride. But I think if we've got 2 platforms in the UK to both ride on, I think that's a fantastic opportunity for them. If they can ride a 4-stroke and a 2-stroke, it's the best of both worlds. I don't think we're ever going to be going back to 2-stroke racing. So for sure, there's going to be that swap over time where you're going to have to get on a 4-stroke. So I believe if you can mix the training between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke, that would be brilliant. But to refine your skills, I would possibly go with a 2-stroke. But then the 4-stroke in the long run also maybe can be a little bit cheaper to run. But then it all depends on if you have mechanical problems and stuff like that, which can happen with any motorcycle. A motorcycle is a motorcycle. You can have a problem with a 2-stroke seizing up, or you can have a problem with a 4-stroke with the dropping a valve or something like that.
Yeah, quite true. And ultimately, it's I suppose the ones who have the natural talent always usually end up at the front end of the grid and the championships anyway. For example, like Ethan Sparks, who has done racing on Ovalis as well and done very well on those. I mean, for you, who do you see as like the... might be a bit of a biased question because you're going to say, some of your people who you've coached, but who's like that for those who also know about the mini bike scene at the moment, who would be like the next Casey O'Gorman or the next Ethan Sparks? And I'm not writing Ethan off because he's still racing, obviously, but who's coming through? Who's like, do you know who's like the next big name in mini bikes, really?
I mean, we've got a few. The FAB, I mean, the Ovalis Championship's brilliant, but obviously I'm more involved in the FAB side of things this year because of my connection with Roger and Rob. I've known them for a long time, and I enjoy the Metrokit racing. Every time I've got time to go down, I'll pop down and watch. But we've got some amazing talent. You've got Blake Wilson, you've got Marco Holt, you've got our lot, Henry McCartney, Frankie Watson, Chloe Gleason, Archie O'Brien, Wilson Dilks. We've got so many. We've got so much at the moment in the Metrokit Championship. We've got so much talent. We've almost got too much talent. And it was when it come down to when I decided that I wanted to do something to ask people to be in the team. It was a difficult one because there is so much talent out there at the minute, and one of them lot is gonna definitely be in World Championship. I can't really name names, but I do, and I don't want to single anyone out, but there are a couple in the paddock which will be there, and you just see the determination. I see it in some of my different riders. I see the determination in them, and the way they want to work. One of the riders is insanely talented, and he's still only 10 years old. And one of them reminds me of James Toseland. It's ridiculous. Wow. The way he goes about his racing and his mindset. And then we've got Chloe as well. We've got Archie O'Brien's a fantastic little rider. He's the right size as well. And going back to Chloe, she's such a nice kid, and she's a brilliant rider for what she does on that bike. And we've had her on the Metrokit this year, and she's progressed massively. And she was at our camp on Monday, and it opened my eyes because she looked so comfortable on the bike.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned there, Chloe, moving up and trying the Metrokit. How difficult is it for riders usually to make that step from just mini motos all the way to the Metrokits, the mini GP 50s and 70s? How difficult is it to make that transition?
It's difficult, because a lot of them haven't used gears before. So that's the biggest thing, is using the gears, and obviously coming down the gears and not over revving it and stuff like that. But, we had a good week out in Spain with Chloe, and she progressed massively throughout the week, and she was getting really, really comfortable, really confident on it. And then the biggest thing is, because every bike's different, like I can't ride around the track and say, right, this gear's second, this corner's second, this corner's third, because they're all different bikes. So sometimes you have to get them to take a couple of steps back to understand what gear they're in, to understand, how many gears they need to go down the corner. And the best way about doing that is going out and doing a couple of laps, slow laps, and understand, not too slow, but just slow enough so you can concentrate and you can understand what gears you're in and how many gears you've got to come down and stuff like that. Because sometimes they just go out and think that they've got to go as fast as they can. And it's not always the case, when you take a step back and just calm down a bit and your brain's relaxed and you're relaxed, you absorb more information.
And you've obviously yourself, you've raced in World Championship, in Grand Prix as a British rider. So at this moment of time, what kind of state do you think British motorcycling is in? Do you think that it's certainly one that's constantly improving, or do you think it's still a bit difficult for British riders to make that step to World Championship level?
I think with what, again, not being biased, but I think with what we have in place, we have a good platform to help them. With what Michael Laverty has in place is absolutely amazing, you know. So the idea of us is to help train these young. You know, we had Johnny out in Spain with us, and he was training with us, and you know, he's an exceptional talent. And,
Johnny Garnett.
Yes, yeah, and you know, we've got quite good infrastructure now. You know, we got Hickey doing the Ovale Championship. We got Fab, Michael. So if we can get it right and we can give them the good stepping stones, we've got a good base there now with Vision Track and with Michael, because that's what we've needed, I think, for a long time, is a British Grand Prix based team. And for someone like Michael and Taylor McKenzie, and you know, we're all sort of doing our bit, and if we all work together, then for sure we can do something. You know, me and Michael talk quite often, and that's the other thing. We're not against each other. You know, me and Michael have said, you know, let's do this together. You know, I help with the mini bike, or where I can help, I'll help, and where Michael help me, he'll help me. So, yeah, I think now we've got this structure in place, I think we can be in quite a strong position, and it's where the Spanish and the Italians have the leg up on us. You know, they have all the training days and that, and it's what we need. I would love to be able to do it for nothing, but unfortunately I can't. But yeah, at least we have something.
And you mentioned there that the Italians and the Spaniards still have a slight leg up on us. How long do you think it's going to take till maybe that closes slightly, you bridge that gap between the Italians and the Spaniards with the systems that they already have in place?
Not long, to be honest with you. Not long at all. I think with the talent we have in the 70s and 50 championship, and in the talent cup with you know, with Casey and with Johnny, we have some very, very big talents there, and we have a good range. You know, I know within my team, within our side of things, we've got a good range of ages, so they can step up. With the range of ages we've got, they can step up sort of one by one, and then hopefully we'll have one going to Grand Prix, and the next one going to Grand Prix, and the next one going to Grand Prix. You know. That's the aim, that's the dream, but it is very, very difficult. You know, the reality of it is maybe one, maybe two out of them will be able to do that. But, you know, we've got to be there and we've got to be trying, because we'll love it. And, yeah, hopefully we'll be there at the Silverstone Grand Prix one day cheering them on.
And probably the biggest and almost somewhat controversial decision that was made in the past couple of seasons was, of course, the age limit getting upped in Moto3 and Moto2 and even Junior GP. Do you think upping the age limit is going to hamper British riders even more, or do you think it's maybe something that can benefit us with the likes of Rory Skinner and Jake Dixon making that step to Grand Prix later on in their career? I don't think it'll hamper us. I think we'll maybe for the likes of Casey, it might have been because he was sort of on the verge of you know, being able to go to Junior World Championship GPs. He was at that kind of age, so it might have hampered him a little bit. But I think with the talent we have coming through now, we can adapt to it. You know. And like you said, with Rory, it's fantastic. He's got a good opportunity with Jake. You know, it does make things a bit easier. And also, there's no rush with them now. You know, you don't have to rush. Not that any kid shouldn't be rushed anyway. That's my outlook on it. You know, they shouldn't be rushed in to be going fast or to be doing anything. At the end of the day, it will happen at their own pace.
and also with the training camps and everything like that, it's not, of course, it's a serious sport, but they've still got to have fun at it whilst they can, because it does get serious very quickly. So I think the age limits at first, I wasn't really a fan of it, because, you know, I look back and there was me and Scott in GPs when we was 15, a very, very young age. But again, you know, you learn a lot through life, don't you? And when you get older, you understand that you should have maybe done things a little bit differently when you was younger. So definitely for the long run, they might be a little bit older, a little bit more mature. So yeah, I think in the end, it's probably a good thing.
And you mentioned earlier on, one final question just before I hand over back to Lester, but you mentioned earlier on that you've been working quite closely with Michael Laverty. Is there maybe anything that you two can maybe link up with and get almost a joint system in place, almost to help both of your riders?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm never going to stand in any rider's way of their career. And if one of my riders gets to a point and I can't take him no further, and Michael can, then he can, you know. Then, you know, I would never ever do that, because I've been in them positions, and I was fortunate enough that the people helping me at the time done the same for me, and I would do exactly the same for my riders, and I would try and support them all the way, no matter what, you know. It's not like they're my riders and they've got to stay with me for the rest of their career. If there's a better opportunity out there for them and someone's running a better team than me, then you know, I'll be happy enough to let them go there, and that's the idea, you know. I haven't got the budgets, I haven't got the money, we've got some good backers for this year, you know, but more on a bit of a smaller scale than obviously Michael. But yeah, I think if we can all work together, then we've definitely got some future world champions for sure.
Well,
Cheers.
Yeah, hopefully. And those future world champions that you speak of, Danny, well, you can watch them live here on Motorsport Radio. Live coverage of FAB-Racing all season. Round 1 and 2 in just less than 2 weeks now. So,
yeah, don't I know it.
are you going to be there?
Yeah. I'll be there. I might have to fly to Poland on the Sunday, because I've got a test on the Monday, it's looking like. But yeah, I'll be there from Wednesday night, trying to get my good spot in the paddock.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, because I'll be there on the Thursday morning. So anyway, but yeah, so Danny, great to see you and see the GP camp growing, expanding, and developing into what exactly next we don't know. Well, that's actually, let's call this the final question. What is next? Do you even know? Have you got like a plan as such, or are we just going to see how things organically develop? And
things are developing. They're developing, and like I said, I've got a couple of backers for this year. I'm slowly going to build the team up throughout the year. I'm not going to rush at anything, and if we're ready next year or the year after, then, you know, hopefully we'll have something in place for our riders to step up to after FAB.
Fantastic. Well, we will, I suppose, monitor you throughout the season to check on your progress, as checking on your racing as well, and seeing who's doing what in terms of the camp as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing, and the main thing is with my guys is there's no pressure on them. You know, we're in a stepping stone. As long as they learn, as long as I can see them trying every time they go out and then putting effort in, that's all I'm after. You know, winning races is fantastic, but if I just see them putting the effort in, that's all that matters to me. I know they're all talented, and that's why I chose them. And they're nice people, they're nice kids, nice families. So, yeah, that's, you know, we've got no egos in our team, so that's very nice.
It is, yeah, because it's nice to have that at that level, because Well, as you go up, we all know what the paddocks are like. But anyway.
Yeah, as long as they're learning. As long as they're learning, you know, and they're having fun. You know, they're not doing anything stupid on the track. They're taking everything in. That's all that matters to me.
Good stuff. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you again here on the Superbike Show. Danny, thank you very much for coming back on. And, well, I guess I'll see you in Lid in a couple of weeks. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This is Motorsport Radio.
1, 2.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Boom! Tomorrow's champions here today, Lewis. And well, you heard it here first. He's got plans up his sleeve. He didn't tell us exactly what, but there's plans afoot.
Yes, plans for expanding.
Yeah, who knows? Well, there's so much overlap between what he's doing. If you're not aware of Danny Webb's GP Camp, check it out on the social medias, I suppose. But yeah, as he mentioned, he's friends with Laverty, who's Moto3, and he's also got fingers in the various other pies and stuff, and the minibike championships. So there's a ladder right there to GP and Fab. By the way, if you didn't know, FAB-Racing, the minibikes British Championship, is the only British Championship which is on the road to MotoGP. It has that official affiliation. Just putting it out there. Just anyway, and I'm not just saying that because we're live streaming all the season here on Motorsport Radio. Oh no, but it is just a nice coincidence. Anyway, talking about Fab and Motorsport Radio and the Superbike Show. Well, guess what? Our next guest has basically he's like he's an older Lewis in that he's been here. He's done everything you are doing now, Lewis. And he's Scottish as well, but let's not hold that against him. And he's now working at the top level in world motorcycle racing for MotoGP. Welcome back to the show. It is Liam.
Wow, I don't think I could have ever asked for an introduction quite like it in my life. I feel bad for Domi and Danny. I don't know if they got an introduction quite like it. Lester, I think you're showing some favoritism there. But yeah, it's amazing to be back. Wow, I think it's been, 3.5 years maybe since I was last on the show. So
yeah, we did quite a few shows over 2019. And then, you were also the FAB-Racing commentator back then. And you and Chris McCarthy. And Chris McCarthy's working in like Formula One now, and you're working in MotoGP now. So, oh my God, I'm super proud of all you guys. So, yeah.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Yeah, Chris has gone on to do amazing things. Working in Formula 3 as the commentator, and yeah, I locked into working in MotoGP. So yeah, it's I got there somehow.
It wasn't luck. It wasn't luck. Don't say that. It was all talent. So, and you got yourself. Well, I'm telling you, it was because. Well, you're there. You've been working at MotoGP for the past few years. What exactly do you do, anyway, for those who don't know? And I'm not even sure I know exactly, but do you do a bit of everything? What is it that you do at MotoGP now?
Well, I started off doing a bit of everything. Actually, funny enough, when I went in to sign my contract on the day, it said digital executive. So
bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah. There was a mistake in my contract, I think. So yeah, I'm not digital executive, not even close. But yeah, when I started, I would do a bit of everything, posting on all those social medias, LinkedIn as well, VIP Village, just doing all that sort of stuff. But my main passion was video editing. And over a bit of time, I got a little bit better at it. And yeah, a few years later, now that's all I do now is video editing and sort of coordinate things with sort of all the social media video editors and the freelancers as well. So yeah, it's worked out kind of well. I don't know why they've kept me on. If it was me, I would have thrown myself out the door.
You're obviously good. You come from the Motorsport Radio, the Motorsport Media stable of talent that there's been over the years. Just like Danny Webb is producing now and helping to produce young riders. I suppose, I don't know, the Superbike Show producing top world level Well, it's true. I'm not bullshitting. There's a lot of people who've presented on this show who have worked and currently work at MotoGP. Just saying.
Yeah, what we need now is a younger Scotsman. So I don't know if Lester, if you've got one in the pipeline.
Now, it is just a coincidence that Lewis happens to be Scottish, and I mean, I do reference you, Liam, to Lewis, and basically use you as an example because you're up there now. I mean, you might not think you're just doing a humble little job, but you're working at MotoGP. You're inside You're in MotoGP now, and how many people, there's so many other people, there's hundreds of people who want to be where you are right now, Liam, and you've gone through that process, and you're there, and you've been there for a few years. So, yeah, people, understandably, they look up to you, so.
Yeah, I sometimes speak to people about this within the office, especially when you've been working many days and you're a little bit tired, and you just sort of need to think to yourself, wow, this is such an amazing opportunity, like, how have we gotten so lucky to be able to work here? Like, there'd be so many people around the world that would be given the right arm, basically, to work in a position like this. But yeah, it's one of those humbling experiences you have. And yeah, every so often you have to remind yourself of it. And I think for anyone working within the industry, in any walk of life, we're just so lucky to be there. And from the bottom all the way to the top, like, you've just got to enjoy it.
Well, next question. What's the best thing about working at MotoGP for you? Obviously talking to and being rubbing up against some like super mega like heroes of yours, understandably. But I don't know. I mean, tell us what's like the best bit of the job.
To be honest, when it comes to the winter break and you get 5 weeks off, that's the best part of the job.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. But.
No, that's an amazing part of the job because you accumulate so many like holiday days and lure days throughout the year. You get to use them at the end, so that's the best part.
Because you work so hard providing a fantastic service. Obviously, that's why.
Lots of them work hard. I don't know if I do, but yes. Getting the chance to, as you say, brush with the stars of MotoGP, it's like that's the best experience of it. But when you do it, you don't really see them as stars of MotoGP anymore. You just sort of see them as normal people, really. And I think that's the best part about it is you walk past them. Like I was at the Madonna de Campione for the Ducati event a couple of months ago, and you just walk past Pecco Bagnaia and Enea Bastianini, and we just stop and talk to them, and it's just a bit like that. You don't really hold them on a pedestal anymore. It's you're just normal people to you now. So I think that's the coolest thing. And when you try and tell yourself that they're just normal people, that's when the job becomes a little bit better, and you take the pressure off yourself as well.
Fair enough.
It took a while for me to get there, but to get to that conclusion. But when you do it, that's the best part. Well,
you've been there. You've been working at Dorna in Spain. You actually live in Spain as well, for those who don't know. So,
yeah, I live in a place called Navas in Barcelona. So, yeah, it's a cool little area, and yeah, there's some perks of the job where you live in Barcelona, and the weather's a lot warmer than Scotland. Sorry, Lewis. I know you know that. But yeah, that's the best part about Barcelona is the weather's a lot nicer. Even though I still have never been able to get a tan while I'm over here. I go back to Scotland every summer and I get more of a tan there than I do here. So I'm clearly doing something
just
wrong.
Wind freezing your face, I think. But yeah. We were saying on the show the other week about people complaining that maybe BSB going to Navarra because it's not Spanish superbikes and all that sort of stuff. Where we're like, shut up, it's nice and warm in Spain. Why would you not want to take the chance to go and live and, well, even work or just go for a visit or go to some racing event? Any excuse just to go somewhere nice and warm.
Oh, indeed, yeah, nice and warm. Also, I'm sure the riders appreciate it a lot more than waking up at 7 in the morning and -7 degrees, and then you've got to wait for the track to cool up, and yeah, there'll be a lot less crashes as well. So, yeah, I'm sure the riders appreciate it, and yeah, why not go to Spain, have a little holiday as well while you're doing some BSB testing.
Exactly. Well, sorry, I've dominated the questioning for you, but it's nice to catch up, I suppose. And
it's been a while.
It's weird that you're the first one back on the show, the former presenter. Well, I know. Well, we've already got Kiko doing the breakfast show anyway, so. Yeah, but in terms of like being back on live on the Superbike Show, you're the first one. So anyway, and Lewis, I know you've got like a whole massive bag, a sack of questions, like, you know, how do we get into MotoGP, Liam? Stuff like that. All the questions that you were asking when you were here as well, you know, asking Steve Day and stuff like that. So, and now, you know, they're just...
It's part of what you got to do, right?
Well, yeah. Live and learn. So, yeah, Lewis.
Yeah, so before we obviously get into MotoGP and what's coming up this year, just about your job, how has that transition been going from, for example, sunny Scotland to Barcelona? How was that transition moving to Spain?
Oh, God, I tell you what, it was one of the most difficult experiences of my life. And it's not because of me transitioning to Spain. It was because when I got here, COVID hit. So it was a bit crazy. I bounced from one flat to another. I've lived in more flats in Barcelona than I ever lived in my whole entire 27 years before that in Scotland. So, yeah, the transition was difficult from that point of view, but the people that you meet and Dorna, I was so thankful for Dorna because when I was transitioning, coming over, I had someone called Annika Silla help me out where she signed... Well, she went and basically done all my paperwork for me to become a resident of Spain. And that was really helpful. So I took a lot of stress off me and I could just sort of focus on the job before the ultimate thing of COVID beginning. And yeah, it just sort of going from doing sort of not freelance work, but sort of just a normal part-time job and doing bits and pieces with Leicester, who I was so fortunate to get me work in 2019, to just working flat out 5 days a week. It took a little bit of getting used to, but you pick up very quickly and you've got a lot of great people over here to help you do that as well.
And just looking at your normal week, you mentioned 5 days a week at Dorna. What does your normal week look like on a race week like we have coming up?
So race week. So yeah, I've not done a Monday for a race week for a long time, to be honest. Usually our race weeks, when we have a race week, we get like the weekend days back. So I usually have like Friday and Monday off. So, but if I were to take that back, basically it's just preparing content. So we actually prepare the content the week prior. So the stuff you'll see going out on a Monday, like for example, we put a video yesterday called The Hot Topics, which we do prior to every single race weekend. That I will do that on the Thursday, maybe Friday. But the planning for that will happen on the Tuesday or Wednesday, where we come up with the topics, the text for the video, and then I'll go away and find all the footages and then piece it all together. Then that'll be broadcast on YouTube and Facebook for the Monday. And then throughout the week, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're just sort of adding a bit more content to that, sort of smaller videos. And it's mainly the people that do the posting on social media that they'll do the brunt of the work on that day, while myself and one of the other main video editors will just sort of keep chipping away. And then on Thursday, that's when it gets a bit more crazy, as you know, with the press conferences and everything. We turn up a little bit later to the office, maybe about midday, get everything in place. All this sort of boring work where you have to get everything in place before you actually make the content. And then what we do is we clip the press conferences, especially the MotoGP social part, which is a part of the content I will make, where we take the best part of that and then make it into a fun little social media clip. And then the Friday, where all the racing begins, that's where, we get to sit in the office, watch it all happen, clip all the content, come up with a plan for later on in the day about what are the main talking points of practice on a Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, we have the whole new weekend. So I don't know if I've just glossed over everything because it's been about 4 months since I've had to do a race weekend. So I'm just sort of getting back into the flow of it. So some things I might forget a little bit, but a lot of it is planning for the race weekend and then just a little bits of content here and there on the run up to it.
And is off-season, obviously you have 5 weeks off, as you just said earlier on, so is off-season just a chill time for you, or is it still preparing for testing that's coming up and race weekends that are coming up?
Oh, yeah, winter. That could be actually some of the most stressful and hardest working part you have to do before your time off, because we have to do all the sort of season review, recaps, preparing the stuff for the next year as well. So it's what content we're going to do, what it's all going to look like, and who we're going to get to make all the graphics, who's going to be doing all the videos, what certain videos we're going to be doing as well, because we've got freelance editors helping from the outside, and then obviously the crew of us within Dorna still doing that. So yeah, preparing the content. We have a lot of content for the off season because we all go on a big break, 4 to 5 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks. We're all off, so we need to make the content, and then the other part of the team have to schedule the content. So that could be the most stressful part. And then when we come back, yes, preparing for the year, where we have to prepare for all of the team launches. We prepare for, as we say, who's doing the content, and then when we get new graphics and everything as well, we need to implement that, test it out, and make sure that everything is okay. And then we start making the content again. So yeah, the off season is sometimes the most stressful part and the bit you work the most at. Thankfully, this year we've had 3.5 months off. So yeah, it's been a bit of a gap between the last race of 2022, the first race of this year, to get everything ready.
And you just spoke about their 3-month gap, but this season it's going to be probably the busiest it's ever been. 21 rounds, 42 races with the addition of sprint races. How difficult do you think it's going to be, not only for the riders, but like for yourself and the media? How much more stressful is just them back-to-backs going to be? Yeah,
I think, to be honest, I don't know if it'll be too difficult in comparison to what we're used to, because, yeah, we have the MotoGP sprint this year, but in terms of the track action, it's just as much as it was in previous years. Yeah, we have to do a bit more content. Like, we're going to have to do, obviously, some winner videos and things like that, not to give too much away for the Saturday. But in terms of content, it won't be too much more. It just means that the Saturday, for example, will be a longer day because you've got obviously all of the qualifying sessions, you have the MotoGP sprint, and then when MotoE is racing, we'll have both MotoE races on the same day as well, and on the Saturday. And then whatever content we have to make when the riders meet up with the fans, which is usually something we have to do because it's a great moment. You get the riders to interact with the fans, and that's content that everyone loves to see, especially now when we're starting to show the more of the rider personalities. So yeah, it's I'm not too sure if it'll be too difficult in comparison, but as you say, back-to-backs, it might be a little bit more, especially when we're going from Europe to Argentina next weekend as well.
And have you had many on-site weekends at the track for GP?
Only one so far. I've done a couple of few junior GPs last year, which was really cool, but I went to Silverstone last year for that. I was covering British Talent Cup as well. So I was doing both races on commentary there on site. So that was an eye-opening experience, really cool. And from there, I was doing interviews. I was doing the MotoGP interviews from practice on the Friday, and then the Moto3 interviews on Saturday and Sunday after qualifying and after the races. So you got a real insight into what the riders are reacting to, especially after a race. Like, I remember a couple of great examples last year was Pedro Acosta, when he went to Silverstone, and then he never passed his fitness test because obviously he was coming back from injury, and he was so upset, like really, really angry with them not being allowed to race. And then Sergio Garcia, he was like a little bit less angry considering he'd just been taken out of the race by Yuma Sasaki. But yeah, he was pretty annoyed to say this. But yeah, it's really cool to see how the riders, especially after a race, will react and what their mindset's like. Hopefully I'll get a few more this year, but not sure.
Yeah, and just talking about this year, have you got what's your year looking like? Is it going to be a majority in the office or more junior GPs, or what's the plan? Or are you still trying to figure that out?
Yeah, mostly it's going to be in the office. Hopefully I'll go to a couple of GPs this year. We'll see. Nothing's been confirmed. Usually what Dorna wants to do is get obviously Matt Bart, Lewis Sotheby, all of the commentary team, the presenting team, Simon Crafar, Jack Appleyard, all of them in place. And then if there's weekends that are free, then they'll move down, and then myself and some others can go to that as well. But I'll be doing 3 junior GPs this year. I'll be doing the season opener at Estoril. I'll be doing Jerez as well. Can't remember if that's the second or third round. I know I should know that. And I'll be doing Portimao as well, where I went to last year, and what an amazing facility that is, and an amazing racetrack. So I'll be doing that in July, I think that is, or June. So hectic the season, you sort of forget when everything slots into place. But yeah, those will be the 3 junior GP rounds I'll be doing this year. And maybe there'll be a Silverstone on the cards again. I hope so, because if I get to the British Talent Cup again, that'd be amazing, because I had such fun last year commentating on that, and as well being the British GP that weekend.
And on the weekend where you're commentating that junior GP at, for example, the British Talent Cup at Silverstone, and even the guys that are constantly at the Grand Prix doing the commentary, is it just a weekend of commentating, or are you, after you're done sessions, doing social media stuff, video editing, maybe some Photoshop? What's kind of a weekend like whenever you're commentating at junior GP and even at the Grand Prix?
Yeah, junior GP, we'll start off with that, is we arrived there either Friday night or Saturday morning. And on Saturday, what you do is you spend a lot of the time going around, seeing the riders, the teams, getting information about every single class, especially junior GP, because that's sort of the premier class of that series. We've also got European Talent Cup and MotoE, and for this year, Stock 600s. But yeah, you spend a lot of your time going around gathering information about the riders and what they're up to. And I do a little bit of social media on the side, just getting videos and pictures for our junior GP social media editor, Danny. So I send that back to him, because he'll be working that weekend, and if he thinks everything's good, usually it's not, but if he does, then he'll publish that as well. And for GPs, yeah, last year when I was at Silverstone, it was mainly the British Talent Cup I was focusing on. So I would go out with one of our other editors and our camera people, and we'd just take shots of the riders out watching the track action when they were out on track as well, doing sort of highlights clips. So after we had everything, all the footage for the day, would go back to the editing suite, and then we would chop up the footage and then send it off to the people in the office for publishing at a later date. But yeah, everyone does a bit more than just commentating. Like, you'll see Matt Bart, for example, doing the press conferences on the Thursday, Lewis Sotheby and Simon Crafar doing the After the Flag as well. Jack Appleyard, for example, this year and last year, he was doing the preview before the press conference as well. So yeah, everyone's doing a little bit more than just doing commentary as well. So yeah, you've got to have your finger in a lot of pies within the media.
And I don't know if Lester has any more questions, but one more for myself on actually your job. Before we start getting into the MotoGP in the upcoming season, if you had to pinpoint just one part of your job, what would you say has been the hardest either learning curve or just hardest part of your job in general?
Oh, that's actually a really good question. I don't know, to be honest. Hardest part, yeah, probably actually learning the video editing. I'd done a lot of it for Motorsport Radio back in 2019, but coming to Dorna and the amount of work you have to do in terms of that, and the amount I didn't know, and I've learned subsequently, that was probably the hardest part of the job. And I had an amazing group of people around me just to help me, and whenever I was struggling, like for the first 2 months of my job, I thought, that's it, I'm out the door here. Like, but thankfully they kept me on. Oh, some of the errors I was making, it was unbelievable. So,
well, actually, watching some of your early videos with me, actually. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, you're
back then, Lester.
You got there on merit. You got to keep remembering that. So, you know, you are good. I mean, and you're still there years later. So,
yeah, it's because I put in the effort. Like, I would go out of my way to learn lots and lots more. And like I remember during the lockdown period, I would work until really late at night just to learn things, just to be better at the job. And yeah, I'd get told off a lot for it, which was great by Dorna for telling me to like, stop working. You need to relax and everything. And yeah, they really look after you like that. But in terms of like me wanting to learn and that being the biggest struggling point, I'd say that was it, because I wanted to be better. And I hope I did get better. Well, I know I did get better, and there's still room for improvement. So that's every day is a hurdle you have to get over, and that's always been the biggest. That was the most difficult learning curve from the early days. Every day's a learning day, I guess. Indeed.
Yeah. One other final question before we actually get into talking about racing as well, because there's a little matter of Grand Prix coming up this weekend. I suppose a lot of people listening, watching this, and I'm going to ask you the same question that you've asked other people when you've had like Steve Day on and stuff like that. So for aspiring commentators or people who want a career in media specifically, maybe they like the idea of working at MotoGP and having their lives surrounded by motorcycle racing or just motorsport in general, maybe it's F1 or whatever. Your top tips, Liam, that you found most helpful, or is there anything in particular that any bit of advice or something like that you could give to young people, I suppose like Lewis, listening right now?
Yeah, I think get yourself into media somehow in terms of what you're doing, Lewis, with Leicester and Motorsport Radio. It's been great for not just myself, but you've had Kiko, Tristan, Tom Brooks as well, and Alex Raby before, and Lewis Sotheby as well. And either start a podcast, show your enthusiasm, get contacts. LinkedIn is a great place to, if you're not at the paddock yet, get on LinkedIn. Show people exactly what you're doing. Make YouTube videos. Start from the bottom, show your enthusiasm, and then keep coming back to them. Even if you've been knocked back, pick yourself back up again, because there will come a day where that tenacity will pay off. Because, for example, in 2018, I saw the job for social media editor, and I didn't get the job. I got the interview for it, but I didn't get it. I didn't hear back, and then I kept sending an email every few months, and I didn't hear back again. And at the end of 2019, I contacted who's now my boss on LinkedIn, and he said, Liam, I'm really sorry, I haven't seen your emails. I just thought I saw your name pop up, and I've now seen that you've been sending a couple of emails every few months ever since we last spoke. So yeah, that shows that you're still interested and you still really want the job. So they'll keep a space open for you if they're impressed by your CV and you've shown great enthusiasm before, you've shown great work before, but you haven't given up. Like, you've not got the job at that first moment, but then there's an opportunity for you to get it at later moments. We've employed people recently where they applied for a job earlier on, they didn't get it, but we always kept their name in mind and another position is opened up for them. So it's the hardest thing to do when, as a human being, is when you get knocked back or get told no, it's hard to pick yourself back up again. But 100%, I'd say that's the best thing to do. Don't let it knock you down too much. There'll always be a day or two afterwards where you're not feeling the greatest, but keep going at it and you will get there eventually.
Top tips, good advice, thank you. And for what it's worth, I do think you're doing a fantastic job, Liam, in Spain, and you are an example, like it or not, to other people who aspire to get to where you are now. So So anyway, so talking about the actual MotoGP season, because there's that as well. I suppose, Lewis, you've got a few questions.
Yeah, so for the past couple of months, for the past 3-4 months, all we've been speaking about is testing. So how much can we actually read into these pre-season testing times? And for example, Ducati looking so dominant, Yamaha and Honda still a little bit on the back foot. So how much can we look into the times that we've seen so far in testing?
Yeah, it's always difficult to look into the times and be convinced about that's the true pace of everyone. But you've got to sort of look closer at the times, like for example, the long run pace, who's doing what. As I said, there's been a lot of testing in terms of testing new parts, new aero parts. We've seen a lot of new aero on the bikes this year, which is, I think, really cool. Like I think they look like beasts. And but yeah, as you're saying, the testing times aren't always a true indicator of what's really happening. Now, looking at Pecco Bagnaia, he topped the last test and he obliterated the lap record. He was 0.8 of a second faster than his all-time lap record from 2021. And then you look at his sprint pace, which was, I think, 8 laps underneath the best race lap record, and 10 of them were faster than everyone else. So there's a lot to look into there. And in terms of the comments, he's looking the happiest, he's sounding the happiest, he's more confident than ever. So yeah, I think looking into Ducati in general as well, because you've got Alex Marquez, who's looking fantastic. You've got Luca Marini, who's continuing on with the 2022 bike from last year. So he knows that bike inside out. So, and he was almost testing champion at the end of this year, something that we joke about sometimes belongs to Maverick Vinales, but Luca Marini was looking really strong all pre-season. Marco Bezzecchi as well, his long run pace looked fantastic. Even Fabio Di Giannantonio, who's gone into his second year, before his crash on day one at Portimao and having to miss a second day, he was right up there as well looking on it. So yeah, I think we can read a bit into the testing times this year, considering that Ducati have really looked fantastic. And then if you look at Yamaha, they were looking all at sea on the last day of Sepang, the first day at Portimao as well. And then Fabio switched to the 2022 aero package, the settings from 2022 as well, and the chassis, but kept the 2023 engine, which is what he's been wanting the most. And that short run, that one lap pace that he's been missing, he really found about half a second on the final day. So, and he was also finding that the rhythm was a lot more consistent as well. So I think we can read a lot into that. With Honda, it's always difficult. Mark was testing a lot of stuff this winter. I think he had, 4 different bikes in Sepang, whittled that down to 1 on the final day, then came to Portimao where he was testing a little bit more on the first day. But by the second day he was working more on setups and everything. So with him being further down behind Mir and just in front of Rins, you can't really tell. You always think that Mark's going to have maybe 2, maybe 3 tenths over those two, just because they're new to the bike and they're still learning. So it's hard to say with Mark and Honda where they really are. But with Ducati, Yamaha, and even Aprilia, yeah, I think you can safely say that what their times are representative. In the testing timesheets, they are probably looking in fairly good form. I would have said Yamaha not until the final day, where Fabio did really look like his old self again. Frankie, unfortunately, still struggling a little bit. So, but we have to wait and see whether he will go back to the 2022 bike as well. But yeah, I think testing this year has been a bit of an indicator of what we are to expect for this year. Ducati will be 100% the absolute team to beat. Aprilia look very close, and Fabio and Yamaha, I think, will be not too far away.
And you spoke quite a bit about aerodynamics there, and certainly Yamaha with their new rear wing, it's been everywhere on social media. Do you think almost at that point, you mentioned that you find aero almost cool and that it looks like spaceships and stuff like that. Do you think whenever we start getting to rear spoilers that aero is starting to become a bit too much, or what's your take on the whole rear spoiler?
Yeah, that's it's always, I think it's each to their own, basically. I think in a few years' time that there's a good possibility that the aero will be reduced quite significantly, or maybe not so significantly, but it will be reduced. And I just think for now, they all look crazy, like mental. I like the way they look, because I just know that this will look back on it in 10 years' time and just go, wow, how cool did those bikes look? Or maybe a lot of people won't, but that's just me personally. Like, I think the innovation has been incredible, like with the ground effect stuff. It's like, who would have thought about that even 2-3 years ago? And the wings on the bikes, they've started off with Ducati in 2015. They've just been getting a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. The Aprilia one, which looks like a Formula One front wing or an airplane wing upside down. Yeah, it's taken. It seems like this year has been a huge step for all manufacturers. But with the rear wing, it was introduced kind of by Aprilia, I think, around about Mugello last year with the sort of T-wing, which they brought back again for testing. The Yamaha one, it didn't look great at all. Like, I'd say the aero looks cool, but that did not for me anyway. Personally, I thought that was like, kind of reminded me of like, Lewis, you'll be far too young to remember this, but for me, it looked like those aero wings that I think Formula One teams tried out in 1998. So they were on the side of the cars. It looked a bit crazy. So
the side pod
wings. X-wings.
The side pod wings, yeah. And you'll lesser remember that. But yeah, it's for me, I just thought they looked, that one in particular, just, it didn't look right. Like with the sort of Stegosaurus wings you saw at the end of last year, they looked, I thought, kind of neat on the bikes. They looked like they looked a bit wicked. But this one, maybe aero will be going a bit too far in this route if the rear wings are getting to look like that Yamaha one. However, saying that, from what people have been saying, from what Fabio has been saying, it sounds like it made no difference whatsoever. Fingers crossed. I'd prefer not to see it on the bike, and hopefully we can keep it off the bike, and the rear of it will look quite nice in comparison to what we've just seen. But who knows? I think there will be some pushes in the future to reduce the aero quite heavily, because I think most of the manufacturers do want to. There's one that you can probably guess which one kind of likes to have it, but in the future, when new real cycles come around, I think there'll be talk to reduce it in certain aspects.
And I know we've just talked about pre-season tests and not reading too much into it, but Honda, they still look like they're trying to find a good base setting with their bike and what frame they want to use. It seemed that they're quite lost out at sea. And there's even talks now that Calix could be helping them or even producing a chassis for them for this season. And they've already made a swing arm for them, which seemed to go quite well. So at Honda at the moment, how do you see, or how long is that time frame before we start to see them compete where they have been in 2018, 19, and even at the very start of 2020 before Marquez got injured?
Yeah, Honda, it's crazy to think that a few years ago they were the absolute pinnacle of MotoGP, and now they are struggling. Last year, who would have thought that they would be the bottom of the pile? I don't think that's ever happened to them in the entire 70 odd years of Grand Prix racing, MotoGP, and they were at the bottom of the pile, sixth manufacturer, but they've made some changes. They brought in Ken Kawuchi from Suzuki, who's worked with both Mir and Rins, and from what the gossip is within Honda, he's making some changes there, and hopefully for the better. As you were saying, Calix, there's been rumours of them building a frame for Honda, which the might of Honda, you would never have thought, because they are Honda and they pride themselves in doing everything in-house. But last year was a step for them, and they went to Calix to build a swing arm. The riders, I think Taka, for example, thought it was just better in every single aspect. So they trust Calix a lot, because Calix have dominated Moto2 for forever. It was just the first two out of the first 3 seasons they didn't win or so in the class. So yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. It'll be brilliant for Honda if they can go to Calix, and maybe Calix won't build the chassis outright. Maybe they'll Honda and Calix will work together to build a chassis, and they'll bring their greatest minds together, the greatest minds from Honda, the greatest minds from Calix together to work on a chassis to see what they can produce. And in this modern age of MotoGP, then there's no wrong way of doing it. No, that's not the worst way at all. And from Honda's perspective, they really want to get back to winning ways. They want to give Mark the bike that he can use to really lean on again, can push into the corner, but also gives them the traction to get out of the corner as well, because you've got to remember, Mark's contract is up at the end of next year. So if there's no changes at the end of this year into next year, yeah, it'll be alarm bells will be ringing at Honda, and you can see already that they're starting to make those changes to convince Mark to stay, to give him that winning bike they can chase after his 9th world title.
And speaking about Marquez, Lester and I touched upon it last week about just.
Well, you were putting him on a Ducati.
Well, yeah, we were speaking about the possibility of Marquez changing from Honda after 2024. Talking about his future, just in general, do you think Marquez himself is still able to win a championship, and do you think it's just right now the bike which is not capable of it and maybe holding him back slightly?
Yeah, I actually think he can win another championship. That surgery he had in the middle of last year when he went off to the US to get his bone rotated, I think it was like 34 degrees out of alignment. Yeah. Just crazy to think of that was what he had to deal with, and he still won 3 races with it when his arm was like that. So yeah, as many people have seen the All In documentary with Marc Marquez, the amount of work he has been putting in the off season to get himself fit again, and what he's saying is he's been hinting to Honda that he's ready to fight. He's back to where he was. Now they need to produce the bike to give him to fight for the world title again. Mark is Mark, and many argue that he's still the best rider in MotoGP. It's hard to argue against that. We'll have to see this year if that's still the case, if he's back to his 2019 self. Even if he is, he will never dominate like he did in 2019, because the young riders like Fabio, Pecco, Anea, Jorge Martin, they've all come on leaps and bounds since then, and they will stop him from being like that ever again. So yeah, I think Mark will win a championship again. I'm saying well, like I'm really convinced he will win again. He's only 30, same age as me. I don't feel that old just yet, so I think he's still got it in him to win, and he'll be really pushing Honda to give him that bike, because I think that's what he thinks is letting him down at the moment.
And if, for example, you were a MotoGP rider, let's just take you away from the media side of it and turn you into a rider, what bike would you want to be on in this up-and-coming season? Would you want to be on one of the 8 Ducatis, or maybe on the dark horse like the Aprilia or even the Yamaha?
100% Ducati. Like, it's the best bike out there. But saying that, the Aprilia, yeah, it seems so close, and it seems such a sweet handling bike that that would be a great bike to be on as well. I mean, to be a MotoGP rider, to be on any of the bikes would be awesome, to be honest. I would happily give up my life right now just to go race a MotoGP bike for 1 year. But yeah, the Ducati 100%, considering that this year they've seemed to have taken all the strengths of the 2022 bike and seemingly made this bike even better by softening the delivery of the engine, then you can't put it past Ducati as the best bike to be on, and that's the bike you would want to pick.
And speaking about manufacturers, just all in general, do you think this year with the introduction of sprint races that maybe we might see another manufacturer be at the front with them not having to worry about tyre life or heavy fuel loads?
Yeah, this is something else that might play into Ducati's favour, because even though the laps for the MotoGP sprint are halved, they still get sort of, in comparison, an extra litre of fuel. So it means that they can go flat out, which means that Ducati can use a lot of the power. I think you'll see Mark up there on the Honda, no doubt. You know what he's like at the start of races. You know how much he'll fight. And with Aprilia, I was always really impressed by Aleix at the start of races last year. He'd be mid-pack sometimes, and then by turn 2 or 3, he was second or third or fourth. So yeah, I think that could be something to watch out for. KTM, they've never been that great at qualifying on the Saturday, but you know what Brad is like, particularly in the races. He is known as the Sunday man now, after Valentino's left. So now Brad has picked up that mantle. So he'll be fighting towards the front. And Jack Miller, like, if he can get on Brad's level early on, then you know Jack Miller, what he's like at the start of races. He will be all guns blazing. He's been one of the riders that's been really, really looking forward to the sprint, the MotoGP sprint. And I think he'll be the one to look out for, especially if he can get inside Q2, get a half decent grid spot, then Jack will be 100% the rider that will go for it the absolute most, I think.
I just spoke about Jack Miller there. I was just about to go on to him because at the end of the Sepang test, it sounded like he almost hit a brick wall with the bike and he couldn't find any way to make himself go faster on that KTM. So how do you see his season going? Switching from the Ducati, which is the best bike on the grid, it seems. How do you see his season going in the normal races that we have?
Yeah, I think Jack will improve over the season. You got to remember, Pramac used him as a development rider when he was there before he went to the factory team. So he's a very good development rider. He's very good at using his technical mind to improve himself and also the bike. So he's a great asset for KTM in that sense. And I think that he will learn from Brad, study Brad, and also Paul, because Paul has got numerous years of knowledge with the KTM prior to his stint with Repsol Honda the last couple of years. So I think by the mid-season he'll be okay. Start of the year, I think he'll struggle a little bit. I think KTM have got some new parts coming for the first round, so that might be something that he's requested, something that could help him move closer to Brad. And yeah, I think for MotoGP in general, Jack is just box office. You need him there at the front because he's a character. He's fantastic with the fans. The fans love him. The riders love him, and you know you're always going to get action from him. So it'd be great to have Jack near the front, and I think he will get there eventually, but maybe not at the start of the year.
And now Augusto Fernandez, he's already won the rookie title of the year because he is the only rookie this year. So looking at Moto2 and Moto3, is there any riders which you see stand out that could potentially be in MotoGP in the next 1 to 3 years?
There's so many of them, to be honest. Like, I think junior categories, Moto2 and Moto3, are stacked with talent right now, which is a bit of a shame because, especially with Suzuki leaving last year, that leaves two less bikes in the grid. Hopefully there'll be more manufacturers coming in the future. But yeah, Pedro Acosta is the one that stands out the most. Moto3 champion 2 years ago in his first season, in pre-season tests, and he's looked incredible so far. And yeah, he looks like the rider to beat in Moto2 at the moment. He will be in MotoGP. My personal opinion, next year. Where he'll be, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, I think he'll be in MotoGP next year, barring what happens in this year's championship. But if he stays injury-free, I think that, yeah, he'll be the safest bet for the title. Saying that as well, Izan Guevara, he's looking incredible as well. A little bit unfortunate in his first year of Moto3 that he was up against Pedro and he was overshadowed by Pedro. But last year, he was outstanding in Moto3. Great, funnily enough, I bumped into Gino Borsoi at the Pramac launch, and he said that Izan Guevara, he's just something else. It's like, watch out for him. Like, yeah, we're watching for him. He's already looking amazing. So, yeah, he really rates him when he thinks he's going to be in MotoGP in the next couple of years as well. And I wouldn't want to say anything against Gino Borsoi's opinion in that one because I agree. I think he'll be there as well. And yeah, Aegerter. Pretty sure he's going to be there sooner rather than later as well, unfortunately, for another Japanese rider in MotoGP. But yeah, it's looking like his seat to lose, basically. Songket Shantra, he could, if he has a great season, and if Aegerter doesn't recover quickly enough from this injury, then you never know. You never know. And in Moto3, the rider that I think really will stand out very quickly, and I'm sort of throwing a curveball here, and I think he might win the title this year. It's Jose Antonio Rueda. He's with Red Bull, KTM Ayo. This year, he dominated Junior GP last year, so much so that he almost beat Fabio Quartararo's record of the most points scored in a single season when Fabio set it back in 2014. And I was just so amazed by what he done last year. He seemed so cool under pressure, would dominate some races by about 15 seconds or so. And so far in testing, he's been looking incredible. So, yeah, I think he'll be in MotoGP within the next 3 to 4 years. And also being biased, I hope Rory Skinner will be there someday, as I know you will be, Lewis, as well. And Rory Skinner's been making improvements, so I'm going to hope he's there. And Scott Ogden as well, as another Brit. Scott's been looking really, really good in testing so far this year. Made a lot of improvements over the winter. Some great races last year. Thankfully, it was his rookie season. This year is his second one. He's in a fantastic team, so there's no reason why in the next few years Scott Ogden can't be in MotoGP as well. But yeah, I think there'll be lots of talent coming through the pipeline, and yeah, fighting for a way to get into MotoGP in the next few years.
And you spoke about Rory Skinner there, and of course he's coming from British Superbikes this season, like Jake Dixon did. So do you think that maybe is now another way to get into Grand Prix for British riders, and just going straight to Moto2 from British Superbikes?
Yeah, I know it used to happen quite a bit back in the day, but not so much anymore. And it's hard to say because Jake did it a couple of years ago and now Rory is doing it. So maybe it is a way because you've built up that experience on the Superbike. Yes, you're taking a step back, but that knowledge you've built up within the BSP paddock when you don't have the electronics that you would have in World SBK. So yeah, it's definitely a proving ground, a stepping stone, but also you got to remember that Jake and Rory both done very well in Supersport as well, so they've still got a bit of knowledge. Rory's title success only came a couple of years ago in British Supersport, so he has a bit of knowledge of how a 600, or I know it's a 765 in this instance for the Triumph, will fare. So I think the knowledge of BSB won't play against him. But I remember when he was doing his first wild card at Silverstone last year, I was in the media centre when Lewis Sotheby asked him the question about how does a British Superbike compare to a Moto2 bike, and he was like, it's night and day. So there will be some things I can imagine he will carry over that might be subconsciously locked in there, but yeah, the two series are completely different. So it's possibly, it's hard to say. As someone that's never raced in British Superbikes or Moto2, you can never say. I'm just sort of rambling on here from what I've heard from other people, like, and hearsay basically, and to the grapevine that, yeah, maybe it will help, but maybe not. But I think Rory will do well anyway. This year will be a learning year. Like Jake, he didn't set the world on fire in his first year. I don't think anyone expects Rory to do the same. Just learn this year and then the second year, because remember he does have a 2-year contract, then that's the year that you really have to show the world what you're really made of.
And one final question for me before I hand it back over to Lester. You mentioned earlier 2 less bike spots on the grid this year in MotoGP with Suzuki leaving. Do you realistically see any new manufacturers come to the sport like we've seen Kawasaki in the past? There was even at one point talks or rumours of BMW looking at it, and I know they've built one MotoGP bike in the past, I think in 2008, just as a test bike. So do you realistically see any new manufacturers or even Suzuki coming back to MotoGP?
Maybe within the next 5 years or 4 years or so. I don't think so, to be honest. Personal opinion, I just think that's, the world is in such a way right now that I think lots of manufacturers have sort of taken a look at what best suits them, and building a MotoGP project from scratch might be not the best way to go. Like BMW have sort of thought about, or we've heard rumours over the years that they might come in. But now looking at it from what's happened, even back in 2008 when they did tease it, the financial crash back then, how the world changed. Suzuki went away then, came back, but now with COVID all happening, and yeah, the bike sales going down over the last couple of years. Thankfully, they're picking back up again, but yeah, I think it may be quite difficult. So BMW seem to be fully focused on their World Superbike project at the moment, which is great to see, because we'd love to see more manufacturers at the front in all series. And Kawasaki as well, I think they're selling enough bikes, happy with their success in World Superbikes as well. So that might be something that might be quite difficult, but never say never. We've been wrong before. We've been surprised before, which is always great. We can always see Suzuki come back. Who knows what will happen? Maybe because they left at the start of a 5-year contract, then maybe they'll burn bridges at the moment. But you never know. If they want to come back and it boosts the sport, brings more revenue, more publicity, more riders in, then yeah, you'll always want more if they always boost the sport. And I hope to see another manufacturer, and whether it's Suzuki come back, Kawasaki, BMW, or anyone else. Like, I always want to see more riders, lots more talent on the grid, and obviously lots more manufacturers competing at the front.
Cheers.
Good stuff. Well, we have unfortunately come to the end of the show. It feels like we could do a whole 2 hours with you, Liam. So
fantastic.
Yeah, like the old times. But unfortunately, that is it. That's the end of the show. Well, thank you, really, Liam, for spending a good hour of your what is it, like almost 11 o'clock now, isn't it? Your time.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I had a great time. Thank you for inviting me back on. I hope that I could have contributed something to the show, and yeah, keep up the great work, guys. I watch as much as I can, or listen to it on Spotify as much as I can, and yeah, it's been great. Loving the show, and all the guests you've got on has been fantastic as well over the last few weeks. So keep up the great work, and yeah, I'll keep listening in.
Yeah, well,
cheers.
Including yourself as well. That's one of the guests now. So yeah.
I won't listen to this last hour.
Well, I know your parents are listening, so hello anyway.
Hello, Dad.
Hello. But yeah, Liam, thank you for coming on. And since I know you're desperate to get back racing any sort of thing, and as Lewis also races, but he's commentating this year at FAB, so I don't really want to endanger him. I have floated the idea that maybe we should get Liam on a mini moto, which is what he used to race when he was like a kid. And if we do that maybe at the end of the FAB season, I don't know if there's I don't know, it might clash with a junior GP weekend, but I don't think there's a Grand Prix on that particular weekend when we're at like Three Sisters in Wigan. So yeah, the invitation's there for you if you wanted to pop along. I've had a word with Roger. He's cleared it. He said, yeah, you can go in. I mean, if you got we'll sort leathers and helmet and boots and stuff like that out. If you wanted to do a full weekend, maybe I've tried to get Tristan on. I think he's said he's busy or anything, but he's dipped his toe back into doing a bit of racing last year and stuff. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? And maybe well, I know Alex Raby as well, who's also the World Superbike commentator, who's also done a bit of FAB commentating in the past. He's also a racer, although he's done his knee in recently. And Kiko, he's never shy to have a go on some karts, or he said he'd have a go on some mini motos, but I mean, he did a marathon the other day, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled to fit on it at Wilton Mill back in 2019. Kiko's a good bit taller than I am. I don't know how he's going to fit on a mini moto. Well, that'll be interesting to see.
He's a lot slimmer than he used to be.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's worked hard. Yeah, especially completing that marathon. That's crazy. I would never be caught.
Well, he claims
doing that in my life.
I'm going to take his word for it, but I don't know if he found a little
he ran past my flat, so yeah, I did see him out there. I don't know if he just ran like 10 meters or something just to prove that he was doing it.
Just
but
for
yeah,
the Instas.
I did. Yeah, just for the Insta stories. But yeah, I would love to do it. Like, yeah, I raced many motors when I was younger. I tried again in Wilton Mill for a practice session, as you remember, Lester. Almost high-sided myself to the moon.
Oh no, it was Tattershall, actually.
Tattershall, yeah, that's the one. It started raining mid-session, and I was like slipping around going, that's it, I'm definitely
still
crashing.
With the excuses, you've not quite got over it, have you?
Oh, come on, yeah. I was faster than one of the regulars, so I'll take that. I was a few seconds off the pace, right enough.
10.
Give me a full race weekend. I think I'll be
well
ready to fight for the podium.
If you genuinely, if you're serious about it, we'll sort you out with the bike and everything, a good one, a decent one, and you can probably do a full weekend of racing and stuff. And
I'll need to hit the gym, lose some of that weight that I packed on over the last few years.
What?
But yeah,
have you seen some of the mini moto riders, some of the seniors? You're like
it's all about the weight on the wheels, isn't it? Yeah, so
like
either you go for the straight line speed or the weight on the wheels through the corners.
Yeah, anyway, I think some of the senior mini motos might be having a word with me in a few weeks, Lid. But anyway, great to have you on the show again, Liam. Come back anytime if you're allowed. And good to see you. Good to hear from you. And thank you very much. Say goodbye then. Thank you. Right. So, Lewis, since we've been on, I think BSB have announced, we don't have much time to talk, we haven't got any time to talk about it actually, but BSB have announced the entry lists for the support categories, which I suppose we can talk about in more detail on next week's show after the final pre-season test at Donington, which is this weekend. So we can talk more about that and maybe even get some riders on potentially. But a massive entry list in, I think it was the Super Stock something or other. I've just had a quick flick through on some PDFs on the MSVR website, but as I said, we don't have time to talk about it, unfortunately, because we've had an amazing show tonight. We had Dominique Aegerter on, Danny Webb, and Mr. Liam Hodgins as well. What a fantastic show! Are you not entertained, Lewis?
Yeah, I'm more than entertained, to be honest. We got a mix of everything tonight. We got a world superbike rider, a world endurance rider, and a coach, and someone who works at Dorna and in MotoGP. So what more can you ask for?
Exactly. Thank you as well for tuning in, listening, or downloading this show. And we know a lot of people do consume the show when we're not live, and we normally are live on a Tuesday. So thank you. This has been the Superbike Show. It's Lester here and Lewis, and for a brief period it was Liam as well. And thank you. Tune in again next week. I don't know who we've got on the show next week. We'll have to see who's available, who comes on. We'll chase Jonathan Ray down and we'll get him eventually. His replacement was all right tonight. I thought it was pretty decent. So anyway, thank you and good night.
Bye.
This is Motorsport Radio. Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio. This is Motorsport Radio.